Well, let's do another one. Let's see if we can't get through a full hour on this one. Not going to be easy. I'm tired, but not tired enough to sleep. So, where to begin? It's February something or another. Who cares? It's 2022. World's in a weird place still, but it's coming out of it. Let's go over some YouTube channels that I like. Maybe we can find a story or two there. Steve Mignonte, Muscle Car Crawl. I picked up on this guy on the Motor Trend channel. He did Junkyard Gold. Really good show. The guy's just a book of facts about old cars. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Old Copper Cab. He's pretty funny. Not for young kids, but I'm pretty sure his whole thing is to make fun of certain political views and act like he's one of them. He's, I think the funniest part about his channel is people actually pay to harass him. He probably makes a fairly good income off of it, but I don't know how that works. Whatever. Economic Ninja. I subscribe to a few of these guys, but the problem with them is you never know who's sponsored. You never know who's got their own agenda when it comes to finances or stocks or growing tensions in some area, whatever. It's just, it's always doom and gloom or buy. And it's just a rough one. Post 10. Now that's a family-friendly channel. This kid's just kind of a little bit off the wall. A little bit of a loner. Just walks around. I think he's in Maine. And unplugs storm drains, culverts, things like that, beaver dams. Something is very fascinating and satisfying about watching a plug get unplugged. But, I only tune into some of these guys. I don't wake up and rush to see if they've put up a new channel or not. We have to find some pretty good ones before I get too awfully excited. Let's see here. Continue to scroll. No. Wow, I'm subscribed to some channels that I didn't even realize I was. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. Oh, Steven Crowder. Pretty funny guy, pretty funny guests, pretty funny co-hosts. I could take him about once or twice a week. It's not that I have issues with what he says or does. It's just stand-up comedian type people that have a message. Yeah, they get a little boring. It's just not necessarily my thing to be glued to. Professor of Rock. This guy, I don't know if he does research or if he's like the Junkyard Gold guy where he's just like a walking encyclopedia of knowledge. By the way, you're going to hear a few clicks on this one because I am kind of clicking around looking for some different ideas on what to talk about. This isn't exactly easy to just come up with things off the top of your head. But I'm getting there. Anyways, back to the Professor of Rock. The funniest thing about him is he's got to push his Zenny eyewear in every video. But aside from that, he does do these little crash course, analytical videos of certain songs or albums or whatever. And what I like about the guy is that he's passionate about the music. Not going to always agree with his likes and my own likes, but he's really into it, and that's one thing I've always been, is very, very passionate about the music I listen to. Having no musical talent myself of any sort, I have to rely on what I enjoy in my ears and head. I took piano lessons as a kid. That didn't turn out very well. I had some potential. I showed some talent, but I hated it so much, and I was such a stubborn kid. I would forget my music books. I would forget to get on the bus on that certain day to go to the piano teachers and just ride the bus home and act like I forgot, and I just didn't want to do it. It was forced on me. Had I stuck with it, maybe I'd have some musical talent today that went beyond listening, but what are you going to do? I tried later in years to pick it up. I tried playing bass guitar with a friend of mine, and man, I was like all thumbs, fumbling around. We were sitting on a balcony in Spokane. It was my first year of college in our apartment, whatever. And he could play Dust in the Wind. He always had to make a point of putting the pick in his mouth. And which always kind of grossed me out because we had grown up. I had known him all my life. And his name was Tim. And he had the worst breath. Oh, just garbage breath. Smart guy, took a wrong turn. Oh, in later years after that Dust in the Wind session, but whatever, we sat up there and he was trying to show me how to accompany him with a bass, and it was like, what, all of 4 or 5 notes or a couple chords or something, I don't know. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it to save my life. But, I wanted to. I tried. He was pretty good on the guitar. He wasn't anything special, and it didn't take him anywhere, but he certainly had more going for him than I did. That apartment was a fun place. It was the first time I had moved out from home. I moved in there with Mark, and then Tim had gone off to college in Indiana. And was it Terre Haute or something? And we were in our apartment over here, and we were living high on the hog. As far as apartment living goes, your first year of college is just such a whole basket full of experiences. Oh man, you spend your first night in your own place, in your own bed, and even though we shared a single bedroom, it just felt like we were adults now. We're 18, 19 years old, whatever, and it all of the new experiences, shopping for yourself. Suddenly a lot of those things that you saw your parents do about saving money made a whole lot of sense. And of course then comes the college along with it, where you're excited to go off to school and you're going to earn a degree, and you have all these interesting classes, your psychology class and your speech class and your archaeology class and your whatever else I had. Those are the ones that stick out. Geology or something along those lines. That fades away. The newness of that fades away, and the stark realization hits you that you're broke, and you better do something to figure out making some money. My parents I guess my dad, he wasn't real supportive of going to school. He had I think he had dropped out of college in like 8th grade or something. Out of school in 8th grade, and just wasn't real high on the idea of going to college. And so when I said that's what I was going to do and go off to school, he didn't really do much for me. He helped me move up there on his dime, and that was about the extent of it for the first few months anyway. I moved in there with Mark, my best friend, and Oh, I think I was maybe a month into being there and realized that I didn't. My finances were dwindling. I hadn't really gone up there with much. I had worked over the summer and managed to save some, but certainly no great amount. But I had always been raised to work, so I wasn't afraid to go out and work. Mark, on the other hand, was not into getting a job. So I checked the little bulletin board at the school and found a guy that was hiring for night work. He would pick me up at 9 p.m. in his Volkswagen minivan with one of those stupid cup holders that hung off where you poked it down the window. And it was, and he had a drink there with him at all times, and it stunk. You know, it was some kind of weird mixed drink, and it just smelled. And we would drive up. His name was Gary. We would drive up to these health clubs because he had this little business on the side, cleaning health clubs at night. And my job was to sweep the racquetball courts and, I don't know, maybe windows or something. I don't remember. I know that I didn't have to do any toilets. He took care of that. I don't think I was even prepared to. I probably would have just told him that I had and then never done it. But I do remember mostly sweeping racquetball courts and like big open exercise areas. And we would hit a couple different clubs, 2 or 3 different clubs. And we had a car dealership too. I think it was a Pontiac dealership. There's a car company that's gone away. But I would get home around midnight, and once I started bringing a little bit of money in, it was probably just $5 an hour or something back then. This would be like '88, and I'm fairly certain he probably just paid me in cash. I doubt he was running any kind of big legitimate operation. It was just a side business. He was a court bailiff as a full-time person. But he was cool to me. I mean, I got to meet his family and hang out and stuff and do things. And, it was a friendly thing. But that's when Mark introduced me to a place called Dick's. And Dick's was a hamburger place, and they stayed open very late. And I would get home, and he had taken me down there on a night, I don't know, some weeknight, weekend night, whatever, and you get the whammy no onions with fries. And that's what I would order every time, or 2 whammies, no onions and fries. That would cost me all of about $3 for that meal. And it was just the best burger. I mean, it was simple. It was just hamburger, American cheese, smear of ketchup, and 1, maybe 2 pickles, if even that. But there's something about it. I don't know if they were frying them in lard or what, but they were just so tasty. In the fries, you would get, like a half a pound of fries. But it was kind of a new experience for me because A, we were eating in the middle of the night, and B, you walked up and you told them your order at the window, and then you just stepped aside, and the next person behind you, and they had these halfway amazing people working there that could remember several orders at once, and you'd go to one window and spit it out and go stand by the next window, and they'd call out. I don't think they even gave you a number or anything. I don't even remember. It was just so fast. You'd get your burgers and your fries and your drink, and we'd head back to the apartment and eat them, and this kind of became a habit. It's probably a good 40 pounds worth of habit in my life. But I used to get home from work at night, and I'd walk in, and Mark was a bit of a night owl anyway, so he was usually up, and I'd walk in, even if he wasn't awake. I'd just walk in, kick his bed or something, and sometimes we would wrestle and beat each other up, and usually, though, it ended up in a trip to Dick's, dragging all tired, and kick the bed. Hey, Dick's? Yep, let's go. We'd drive down to Dick's and get our food every single night, man. It seemed like we were living there. Weird mix of people, too, in the middle of the night. And that was in the 80s, when people were fairly safe. It wasn't that they were dangerous people. It was just people who has a reason to be on a Wednesday night out there in at Dick's ordering burgers. Well, people like us, I guess. But we had fun in that apartment. We used to go down to a music store and get ourselves CDs. Were just beginning to make a permanent appearance, you might say, or lasting, or they weren't going away. They were taking over, and cassettes were going bye-bye. So we would be buying, but at that point in time, you could buy and use CDs, cassettes, or even records, because you probably had all three players. So I'd look through all of it, and mostly I would lean towards the cassettes, because then I could play them in my car. But I was eventually moving over to CDs, and I did, of course, have a CD player and everything, but we would go in, and we would walk down there, because it was, I don't know, it was probably a good 2 miles down there, 1.5 miles, whatever. We'd walk down there, and we'd walk out and start walking home, or maybe we had parked there, and one time we were walking out, Mark just says, I like this place. They've got the best deals. I was like, oh yeah, what's that? And he said, buy one, and he opened up his coat, and he said, get 10 free. He had stolen like 10 cassettes or CDs. I think it was cassettes, but that was back when we had big suitcases, and that's where you had organizers, and you kept your CDs or your cassettes in there, like files almost. Just open it up, and there'd be all these cassettes, and you'd have drawers of them and everything else. And he was pretty proud of that moment. But and we hated our landlord. We didn't, for no particular reason. I hated him. Well, Mark and I had a history of harassing people. We really liked it. We really had a good laugh at just driving around and making fun of people. It was almost an obsession. It was so often that we did it. And it was a cheap, basically free way to, other than some gas, to entertain ourselves for a good hour, 2 hours, 3 hours at a time. And we just called it harassing people. And we had almost no rules. We would say no old people, and we would say no brothers, referring to black people. For whatever reason, we decided to let those two segments of the population off the hook, but everybody else was open game. And so we're really big on the harassment thing, and we're always just looking for something to make fun of somebody for, and I still do it today, to some degree. I love, because I can make fun of myself. I'm not afraid to make fun of myself. I'm not an insecure person like that. So if I plug the toilet up in a monumental way, then I guess I'm just going to come out and tell everybody I did it, because I'm not proud like that. But so here we are, we're making fun of everybody, and we didn't know the first thing about oil stoves, which is how this thing was heated, this apartment. And I remember we called old Dan over and asked him, we called him and asked him how we heat the place, and he said, use the oil stove. We're like, we don't know how to use that thing. And he's, just turn it on, light the pilot. Uh, okay. Isn't this not going to blow us up or something if we do it wrong? No. Well, we don't feel comfortable with it. Can you like help us? Okay. So he came over and he lit the pilot for us. And suddenly we were warm again. But we were on the second floor, so we weren't terribly cold anyways because the old man lived below us. He kept his place pretty toasty. Him and his cat, Boogie. His cat's name was Boogie. And old Bill. And us, we got off on the wrong foot, but eventually we became pretty good friends. And Bill would invite us down to watch movies because he had HBO, and I saw the movie Aliens there. But he'd get drunk. He would drink a lot, and he would tell us some funny stuff. And I remember one time he got all philosophical on us, and he was talking about right and wrong and how to report, or you're eventually going to have to report to the man up to the big guy. And he kept pointing kind of up, but kind of behind him too. And we debated it for probably years to come. If he was pointing up to God, or if he was pointing at the giant poster of Willie Nelson that was on the wall behind his chair. We just didn't know. Whatever the case, we'd go down and hang out with Bill once in a while, and I think one time we took him out to dinner even. And I remember that there was a bar down the street called the High Neighbor, and when we were moving in, we just thought we were so clever because we kept dropping heavy stuff on the floor, and we'd say, "Hi neighbor, hi neighbor." Oh man, we're just the kings of comedy. But so Dan comes over, and I remember he had this quilted coat on. Actually had that quilted sewn-on look, and it was Budweiser cans. It was like a print of Budweiser cans, quilted Budweiser coat, and I just instantly hated that coat. And so I didn't like Dan just because of that coat. Now Mark had his own reasons, but it didn't matter. His reasons were just as silly as mine. Probably just hated his last name or something. I don't know. But we, this is a time when we were paying like $175 a month for rent, and that's with all utilities. So we had it pretty good actually. Rent was cheap back then. But anyways, we got our light going, got our place going. Everything's going good. We used to from our back balcony, we would throw garbage on the top of the tire store next door, and that was hilarious to us. And drive around and harass people, or go down to the park and harass people. And one day, Tim called and said, "I quit college." Okay. Well, what are you doing? Well, I'm coming across. I'm halfway to your place. Probably another 2 days and I'll be there. Okay. See you then. So, wouldn't you know it, he pulls up and comes in and asks if he can hang out for a few days or something. And we were like, oh, sure, whatever. It's kind of fun to have him back. Kind of a Three Musketeers thing going on. And we're all back together and doing our thing. And Tim and I would go places. And because he was into electronics and, like I said, guitars and things, and stuff that Mark didn't care about. And so I had fun with both of them, and all three of us together. And we used to do prank calls. Back then you could do prank calls because, number one, everybody had a landline. There really wasn't much of a such thing as a cell phone. There were some big giant ones, and some people had them in cars, but it was far and few between. It was by no means common. So but everybody had a landline. And you could, and there was no caller ID of any sort. So prank calls, there was no star 69, no caller ID, nothing. When you called somebody, you just called them. So we would just randomly make up numbers. It was a city, hundreds of thousands of people. You're going to pick a prefix and dial a number, you're going to get somebody. So we would do that, and we'd see who'd be funniest and everything. And one time we hit this answering machine, which was also a thing back then. And I remember the message. I to this day, here it is. Oh, let's do the math real quick. 34 years later. And it would have been, I don't know, probably November, December. And I think it was Mark that called the number first. And he got this answering machine, and the message said, "Hi, you've reached Warren. Bob and Carol are out working in the yard, and I'm just sitting here having a beer, so leave a message." And Mark just despised that message. He hated that message. And he thought it was the dumbest message he had ever heard from an answering machine. He remembered the number and wrote it down. I think we wrote it down and had it like on a big piece of paper on the wall next to the phone. And we would call this guy randomly and talk to him because he would answer sometimes. Warren, yeah, who is this? Warren, I just got to tell you something. What's that? That's the stupidest phone message I've ever heard. I hate you for that message. I can't stand that message. Is there really even a Bob and Carol? And we harassed this guy for weeks on end. And I don't remember why we stopped or when we stopped. Maybe we were worried we were going to get busted or something, but we finally did quit. But we were calling this guy 2 a.m. or something. Ring, ring, hello. Warren, yeah? I hate you. I can't stand you. Who is this? Every time, who is this? Shut up, Warren. Hang up. And, that's another thing Mark introduced me to, or we introduced ourselves to, was Pizza Pipeline. Large pizza, 2 giant drinks, delivered to your house for all of about $10. And oh man, did we have our share of those. So if we're not harassing people on the street, we're eating at Dick's. If we're not eating at Dick's, we're ordering Pizza Pipeline. And if we're not doing that, we've always got Warren. And that was our life there. And when Tim showed up, it got a little interesting because he hadn't told his parents that he had just quit college. And he was on a military scholarship, if I remember right, ROTC, Air Force. And he just ditched it all and was hiding from his parents. I believe that eventually they got Mark's mom to talk because he had told her probably. And then Mark was in communication with Tim's parents, and of course because there was nothing better to do, he started hitting Tim's parents up for money, saying, look, him quitting college is between you two, but he's really a burden here. We're feeding him. It costs us extra power, extra rent. None of this was true. I mean, we may have, I don't know how Tim was eating. I think he had a little bit of money of his own, but whatever. But all of our utilities were included anyways, and we never paid a lick of extra rent for Tim's presence, although our landlord tried to get some out of us. But anyways, so his parents start sending us money, so we're pocketing this money, and of course, which is probably fueling our Dick's habit by then. And we start getting letters from the landlord about adding somebody to the lease and all of this stuff. And so then Tim started parking his rig different places in the neighborhood, and we'd get a letter from him saying, I see what you're doing, trying to hide his car. I see his car. I know where you're parking it. I know it's here. I know it's here. I know it's here. And finally, I think we finally just told him, Tim, you're going to have to go. This is screwing up our lease. And we don't want to get kicked out of here. So, you got to go face the music anyway. It was with your parents. This isn't cool. So he did. He packed up and went home. I think he stayed with us, I don't know, maybe a month and a half, 2 months, I don't know. And actually, we weren't long to be there ourselves because Mark's mom got hours cut off or something, and she couldn't afford to pay the rent there for Mark anymore. By that time, I was paying my own. Anyways, I mean, I'd been paying my own from day one, but so he sat down and told me he had to move out, and it really sucked, and he was just going to move back to down to his mom's place, and 120 miles away or whatever it is. And he essentially said, "You're on your own." Luckily, I had a grandma that lived in town, and she had a spot in her basement, and I moved in there, and then I did come to find out that my dad was paying her, so he did in the end support me a little bit. I know he also made my car payment for me a couple times, but all in all, it was a good experience. But when you take off like that, you're hit with so many things, and some of them you're ready for, and some of them you're not. I could tell you the one thing you're not ready for, and that's your first sickness. You get the flu or something. Talk about feeling alone. Usually, you grow up with mommy and daddy taking care of you, and then suddenly you're sick and you're on your own, and you're cold and tired and hurting and fatigued and snotty and whatever else, and there's nobody there to baby you. That first one's a hard one. But anyways, I kind of got off on a little bit of a tangent there. Here's a YouTube channel I really enjoy, but sometimes it's a little annoying to watch, and that's Uncle Tony's Garage. This guy is 60-ish years old. He's obviously been around cars his entire life. He written for some magazines or something here and there too, and is probably well known amongst certain circles of car freaks. But he's got a YouTube channel out, and it's growing like daily. It's pretty popular, but he's in Tennessee, but he's not from there. He's from New Jersey, and he's got that New Jersey accent, which I won't even begin to try and copy. But the problem with that accent is every other thing he says sounds like he's being a big jerk. It's just the twist that people from New Jersey seem to have on their speech patterns. You can't tell, and they're also direct people. So, for me to be diplomatic and tell somebody, no, I don't like that. And, would you like some stew? It has, carrots and onions in it, which I don't like onions. I despise onions. I hate onions. They make me sick to almost see. And, me, I'd say, oh, no, I'm not hungry. And, I'm not a big fan of onions anyway. Well, that's how I would put it. Tony, he'd be like, do I look like I like onions? Just something like that. And you're thinking, is this guy serious? Is he being a jerk, or is that just how he is? But it's, I've noticed it. I've done a lot of work on the East Coast. And that New Jersey attitude, it definitely stands out. It's there. I think that there's a couple of other places that you can really pick up on a trend across the board geographically on how people talk and act. But New Jersey is definitely in its own class. Anyways, what else are we looking for? We're looking for channels that we really, really like. And let's see, Epic Economist. That's another one that does every video is a final warning followed by a collapse. It gets a little doomy and gloomy and is more of a scare hype than anything. Let's see, what else have we got here? I like cars. I like the car videos. The TFL. I really do enjoy all of their channels. They've got like 64 channels. They cover everything, but they're fairly straightforward and easy to watch. There's more Professor of Rock. I really do like that guy. I really do enjoy him, and I could do an entire video about how much I love music and how I'm passionate about listening to music and reproducing it in a quality manner. I'll try to save that for another one. Hopefully, I get to it before I forget. Dirt Perfect, I like his channel quite a bit. It's actually a pretty boring channel. It's just a guy with an excavation company that, cleans ponds, digs basements, does ditches or water lines or whatever. Just general excavation with an excavator, a cat, loader, various small implements. It's just watching dirt move. And same with the Let's Dig 18, another one I really like. But it's because of the personality of the presenter. With Dirt Perfect, they're just a couple of, good old boys in Indiana. And, he is on his own, but he's got helpers, and they're all just a bunch of good old boys, and they're probably really down-to-earth people, and they're always fairly upbeat. And they banter a lot between themselves. It's just fun to watch. It's fun to enjoy. You can turn the screen off and just listen to it off of YouTube or something. Let's Dig, he's a little bit slower. He's in South Carolina or something, but he's usually a solo guy, but he's just kind of even toned and talks about his stuff, makes occasional joke. Nothing huge, but just enjoyable channels to watch. Of course, probably my favorite channel on all of YouTube, well, it's going to be down between two different ones. We've got Bald and Bankrupt. Well, there's three. We've got Bald and Bankrupt, which is a UK guy, English guy named Ben, and he travels around mostly Eastern Europe and into Russia and some of Asia. But he's been over to Mexico and Cuba and such. But anyways, what I like about him is he doesn't have any sponsors. He doesn't try to push anything for sale. He just wanders around and goes everywhere that tourists wouldn't go. So if it's a bad neighborhood, he's going there. If it's Chernobyl and people that still live there, he's going there and he's having dinner with them. And he speaks Russian and a lot of the other languages. He gets through it. But very interesting to watch. He'll put out a 40, 50-minute video, whatever it is, and before you know it, it's over. And you're like, wow, that should be like 4 times longer. I don't get enough. And he's a similar guy to him, Harold Balder. Again, very enjoyable to watch. Same format, basically, but got his own twist on humor and everything. And yeah, those guys are neck and neck. They're basically equal with each other, but and they share the number one spot with Drain Addict. Now that's a guy in Australia. I think his name is Ollie, and he just has a Volkswagen van, and he's in the business of unplugging drains. And every video begins with the same thing. He starts his motor up on his rig for the pump, and goes to where he's pulled open a cover or a toilet off or something like that. Looks down and says "block drain," and he's got some little mascots, Ratty and Magpie and Croc, and now there's Baby Rat, and these are just sewage covered plastic animals that he's found along the way somewhere. And but he's very entertaining. He's so upbeat. He can make it look fun to blow poop out of a 6-inch pipe with a water pressure. He can make it fun to dig a hole and hand clean a trap or something. Very, very entertaining channel. And then he also makes these weird offbeat videos where he's like, well, he's got this thing with corn, because corn can't be digested by the human body. Corn, I believe, is some kind of, it's essentially man-made. It's grass, a hybrid grass. So we can't really digest it, but we love it because it's full of sugar. But when you eat that corn, it basically just passes through, and then it gets into the hand of drain addict, and he feeds it, puts it in front of his little plastic toys, and he's basically playing with sewage. And but it makes it look fun, and it probably turned a lot of people's stomach, but certainly doesn't mind because he's just so entertaining. But he'll do these other videos where he's has nothing to do with his work. He'll go out in the woods or the beach or something and go on a corn quest of some sort. I even had this idea to make a video here and send it to him. American Ratty. I was going to buy 4 rat masks for me and my wife and kids, and we were going to be filming ourselves driving out in the countryside and looking for corn, and we would find it, we would see it, and we would be chasing it. There'd be like this elusive corn, and it would be called American rats looking for corn, because there is something uniquely American that you don't find much across the world, and that is the amount of guns that we have. And so I was thinking, it'd be funny to see eventually find like some corn cobs or something, and then we Americanize that corn, and we shoot it up, bang 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 bang, and then instead of there being like a bunch of bullet riddled corn cobs or something, I would pre-pop like 2 or 3 garbage bags full of popcorn, and then film ourselves walking up to it in our rat masks and pointing down, and everybody thinks they're going to see this shredded up corn cobs and mess in the dirt and everything, and instead to be a nice clean pile of popcorn. I've never wanted to do something like that, but this guy's so entertaining that it kind of inspired me to have that little plan, that little thought in my head. But I'll probably never get around to it, because it's just one of those things. It's a fleeting thing where you make some fun plan in your head, but sometimes it's just funner to think about it than it is to do it. But if I were to travel to Australia, which will probably never happen, I would definitely want to see if I could hang out with him for a day and find out if it was really as fun as he was making it look on the old YouTube. That I think, him and the other 2 are really truly right up there in my top of the list. There's a few others like the Lost in the Pond guy. He's just a British guy that points out all the differences between UK and now he lives in America, so somewhere in like Illinois or something. He making comparisons. There's Irish people trying this. I do a lot of food reviews. Another one I really like is Guga. He's a meat crazy Brazilian. I think he's in Florida. Tries all kinds of different combinations of meat. Usually it starts with steak, something to do with steak, but of course he plays with other stuff, and dry aging it in wasabi or marinating it in this or whatever, and it's just a very enjoyable channel. And boy, that guy's got to be making some bucks, because he's got millions of subscribers, and I don't know how the YouTube pay thing works. I really don't know the first thing about it, but I'm going to guess that when you have millions of subs, you're going to make some good money of some sort. Gas Station Encounters, that's another great channel. Very short videos though, 2, 3, 4 minutes long each. It's just a convenience store gas station, and they film. And the narration, the guy that's doing the narrating, I know he's an employee there, but he may even be an owner. But he narrates people that come in and shoplifts, and sometimes they let him go, and sometimes they confront them. But incredibly entertaining and great for laughs. And they do like this little co-op thing with this other place, Fave Trip or something, and they're equally funny. So you can sit down and find their channels, and 2 hours you can watch pretty much every video they have because they're so short. Nonetheless, I don't I don't watch YouTube to be anything but entertained. Well, that's not true. I did look something up on there the other day that I didn't know how to do, and today I actually looked up growing potatoes. I want to plant a big garden this year, and we've all seen potatoes start to sprout, when we forgot about them under the sink or something. But I knew that you just basically cut them up and separate the eyes and plant them. But I wanted to make sure that all potatoes have that ability, because you never know when you're getting with engineered foods, GMO stuff, if it can reproduce or not. I mean, you got trees that are hybrids. This is an apple tree, but it's grafted onto a plum stump for whatever reason, because the nursery can grow it faster that way, or we could make a dwarf tree or something. I don't know. I don't really know that much about it. I've never looked into it, but I do know that when science puts its hands on something natural, there's a good chance that it will alter it in such a way that it's no longer natural, which means if you were to plant a seed out of something that you bought at the store, what's really going to come up? Is it even going to produce fruit? Is it even going to be able to sprout? I mean, think about it. A seedless watermelon, that's all you see now is seedless watermelon. That is by no means natural, but they've somehow come up with ways, biologically speaking, genetically speaking, to alter the very existence of the reproduction process on those fruits, and wham bam, it doesn't have any seeds in it. Or you've got apples the size of, a natural apple can fit easily in the palm of your hand. It's not much bigger than, say, a tangerine. But now you've got apples that are the size of softballs. That's not natural. I mean, there are obviously going to be big breeds of everything here and there, but not to the point where you have these perfectly round apples with perfect skin and perfect sweetness and perfect color. And I'm not saying I'm for it or against it. I'm just saying that when I wanted to raise some red potatoes, and I didn't know and if I could or not. I don't know the origins of the red potato. For all I know, it's made in the lab. Speaking of potato, I really want to get some of this French fry cologne that the Idaho State Potato Board had made. Smells like French fries. It sold out before it even hit before they even started filling orders, before it even went on sale. It went on sale, I believe, on Valentine's Day, and it had already sold out 2 days before that. And they're talking about, because like July 1st or something is like National Potato Day or something, I don't know, that they're going to have hopefully another batch by then, and hopefully I'll remember, and hopefully I'll get my hands on some, because I think it would be cool to smell like a potato for a day, or a French fry, that is. But anyways, so cutting up these red potatoes, I'm going to get them sprouting, cut them up, and then instead of just planting them like in rows or something and then mounding as they grow, because that's the thing with potatoes is you have to mound the dirt up on top of them as they grow. You always want to be covering it up so it's just pushing green, because that way it'll produce more potatoes. What I want to do is create some potato boxes, and that's where you take and you plant your potato in the ground like you normally would, but instead of just mounding it up once or twice and having maybe a 6 or 8 inch mound, you continually fill it with dirt and keep up with its growth. And then you keep adding sides to it, kind of like a hollow square with a potato plant in the middle. You keep building up the walls, adding more dirt, and it'll grow really tall, 3-4 feet tall. You can get these things. And the whole time, as they grow upwards, they're just producing more and more and more and more potatoes. And then you get to the top. Well, the cool thing about that is, because it's all in dirt already and everything, you've got a bit of a natural insulation there. You can just leave them there. Now, you're not going to leave them there all winter, probably not, because eventually they will freeze, and then frozen raw potato, I don't know, it gets, I can't remember if it gets hard or something, but it's no longer, I mean, it's edible, but it's nothing you'd want. But anyways, but you have plenty of time there to use them. You don't have to just harvest them and find a place to store them. You can leave them in the ground, in the dirt, in the box, but and then you're very space efficient because you're going upward instead of outward or something like that. So that's my goal, is I'll try to find some wood and chop it up and make some of these little interlocking tower walls, and see if I can't get 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever potato towers going, and we'll have potatoes for a long time that way. I'd like to get some, well, we're going to do raised beds, not because they're trendy and cool and suburbanite, but because they are, in our case, a little bit on the necessary side. We have a tremendous gopher or mole problem. Something lives under our soil. I've dug trenches before. I've seen the tunnels. I have come out and seen an entire tomato plant gone, and it wasn't like it was eaten from above. You could tell that it was sucked down into the ground. So, where's it, peppers? I don't remember what it was, but they took the whole plant. Probably about a 14-inch tall, 15-inch tall plant. Gone. So anyways, I mean, everybody does tomatoes. I mean, that's just kind of a given. We will do the potatoes. I'd like to do some melons. The Crenshaw melon is very enjoyable. Cantaloupes and watermelons, of course. These raised beds that I'm going to do, I'm going to, we have these totes around here, these farm totes, big plastic square containers in a metal cage. And they use them for various things, soaps, fertilizers, whatever, but you can pick them up. I have a little bit of a connection to some. And what you do is you cut the cage in half, and you cut the square in half. Now, these are 400 gallons a piece, I believe. And you cut them in half, and now you've got 2 raised beds, and you flip the cage over, and you've got a table on legs. And if I can get on my hands on about 8 or 10 of those, and have somewhere between 8 to 15 different raised beds, 4 by 4 each basically in size, I can get quite the garden going. There's another reason we don't want to put stuff on the ground like that, because I do not want to invite rattlesnakes in. We live in a rattlesnake heavy country, and they are around us. And if you're creating a safe haven of some sort, or a place where mice like to go and hang out, or circle of life kind of thing, you will invite snakes. And I don't want that. I don't need that. I want nothing to do with that. So if we keep them up off the ground, we're not going to create that big underbrush. At least, I mean, we might, that undergrowth, but it won't. It'll be suspended up in the air. Be just that much harder. And then our water too will be more efficient, because we won't, and it'll be easier to weed, just kind of walk by and pluck out weeds, once a day or something like that. They're going to get weeds. Any garden's going to get weeds. But at the end of the season, hopefully we have ourselves freezer full of greens that we like, which is going to usually be green beans and like sugar peas or something like that. And I will have eaten spinach along the way, and cucumbers and carrots and everything else. I do have a box an underground box that I made for storing vegetables. I think you can probably store potatoes and carrots in there, no problem. And get ourselves a garden going this year. Getting tired. I'm tired. I hope you're tired. I hope you're long asleep, because I've got another 5 minutes to fill here before I've gone a full hour. I didn't think I'd do it, but here we are. So let's see if we can find any more YouTube channels that I really like. Mega Machines, I like that channel. Just big equipment, digging dirt. Uneducated Economist, this guy's interesting. He works like at an Ace Hardware store or something, and he sits in his car and does videos on economic matters. And then on the weekends, he sometimes streams live and has, I think he's at a VFW or a bar or something, and he's running a bingo, except they're giving away, instead of like prizes or money, they're giving away cuts of meat. So it's kind of funny, meat bingo. But he's got some pretty good insights. I mean, he's not always right, who is? But he just sits there and speculates about things that he sees, that he observes. You'd probably say that this guy's got a ton of common sense and probably not overly educated, but I don't know that. I mean, maybe he is. Maybe he's, greatly educated and just wants to work at a hardware store, but that's his business, not mine. But I can say that he's got insights that most people don't have. I watch him. A lot of the times I know where he's going with something, and a lot of the times he opens my eyes up a little bit. So I do enjoy watching him. Johnny Bravo, Jay Bravo is a channel. I only watch him because I like the sound here. Let's see if we can play it. I love that sound. He acts like he's rising up off of a big throne chair or something and plays that sound, and I just love it. I don't know why. Why did I hate Dan's Budweiser coat? I don't know. To each our own. We all have our own tastes. We all have our own way of looking at things. Even people that are a lot alike are, at least a little bit different. We're a lot alike and we're a little alike. Where's that from, the Scrooged? We're a little bit alike in a lot of ways. I think that Elliot, the Bobcat guy, plays with Bill Murray. But it's true. We're all going to be different. We're all going to be, even if we are two people that are passionate about the same song, we might be passionate for two different reasons. One guy is like, I remember that I was in high school, and that was a song we played at lunchtime, and she's over here going, well, that was the song they played at my senior prom or something, whatever. And it means, they're passionate about it, they love it, but it's for two different reasons. But that's okay. You find common ground and go with it as you can. You're never going to be 100% compatible with anybody, because then you'd be a clone. And I would be willing to bet that even two clones couldn't get along. That is our nature as people. But I will save that topic for another talk. I've got lots of games recorded. I've been recording games for the last, month or so. Yeah, roughly about not even a month really. But I've been making it my business to record games, and then I look at the game time, the video time of the game that I played, and I try to set the video to match it as closely as I can. Not the video, my audio, my recording right here. So yeah, we got lots of topics coming up. We've got people I play with, we've got music, we've got everyday events, we've got all kind of memories. Memories, that's probably going to be the funnest one, because just like Warren and his stupid answering machine, some of them, they crack me up. Looking back, they crack me up even more, but I lived them. And they may not even make somebody laugh. They might say, well, man, you were an immature punk idiot. What kind of a jackass does that kind of stuff? Well, this kind, I guess, is the answer to that. Because we did it and we loved it, and I'd do it again. So, like I said, I hope that you've gone to sleep already. If not, there'll be another one to play. Put it on autoplay and you can listen to me drone. But either way, we'll see you on the next one. Good night.